Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and welcome to week 4 of
The Summer of the Planet of the Apes.
Escape from the Planet of the Apes ended with an obvious cliffhanger and was actually the only Planet of the Apes film made with a full intent of a sequel in mind. However, what came of that was still surprising. Following the life of Cornelius and Zira's only child, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes is the only film in the series to not have a kid-friendly G rating, outside of the 2001 Planet of the Apes movie, even after a lot of the more graphic scenes were cut out of it. Which of course tells me that this is gonna be fucking incredible! Okay, so let's arm up as we've got quite the dystopian future ahead of us. This is Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. The movie opens up proudly showcasing its setting in the future year of 1991. Which was quite a memorable year, what with the release of the Super Nintendo and Sonic the Hedgehog, and yeah, the movie was made in 1972, so its depiction from 1991 looks kind of weird to us in 2012. But considering that, how things went, other films at the time depicting 5 years in the future having super fast space travel or some shit is not quite as bad as that. Oh yeah. Nevertheless, this opening sequence showcases that in the 18 years since the last film, evidently humans have already established apes as slaves, and they've unanimously evolved an upright posture. Even though they established in the last film that it was supposed to take, 500 years to get to this point, but whatever. Following this, we are reintroduced to Armando, again played by Ricardo Montalban, and the child of Cornelius and Zira, now 18 years of age, played by Roddy McDowall. Ah, Milo!
Now listen to me, Caesar.
Caesar? Where the hell did Caesar come from? They very clearly stated in Escape from the Planet of the Apes that they named their son Milo.
Milo.
And while it might make sense that someone would change his name to help keep him under wraps, they were killed off too fast for anyone to even catch the name. And furthermore, while Cornelius' history lesson spoke of a distant ape whom could speak and rose against their oppressors, while he wasn't named Milo, he wasn't named Caesar either.
On an historic day which is commemorated by my species and fully documented in the sacred scrolls, there came Aldo.
It's kind of frustrating that I haven't been able to start a single film in this series beyond the first one without finding glaring continuity errors within the first 5 minutes. Anyway, Ricardo gives a brief recap of the last film to Aldo Milo Caesar.
There can be only one talking chimpanzee on Earth. The child of the two talking apes, Cornelius and Zira, who came to us years ago out of the future and were brutally murdered for fear that one very distant day, apes might dominate the human race.
One very distant day, easily confused between 500 years and 18. He drives the obvious point home that Caesar must keep his mouth shut if he doesn't want to be killed off, and they head toward Ape Central, where we see that evidently, the only job humans have anymore is the training and control of ape slaves.
They all died within a few months, 8 years ago. Every dog and cat in the world. It was like a plague.
Interesting note, this is one prediction that the film almost got right. In 1978, canine papillomavirus would spread and kill off thousands of dogs across the world. Personally, I would have rather have seen apes rise up and conquer humans. And Armando goes on to explain more of the exposition from the last movie.
Humans wanting little household pets to replace the ones they had lost. Then when people realized how quick they were to learn, how easy to train.
I appreciate that they're not just, showing the ending of the last film, but lest we forget, show, don't tell! Plus, all this exposition seems a bit out of place as Armando and Caesar have apparently taken themselves deep within the hornet's nest just to hand out flyers for the circus.
Well, for heaven's sakes, a circus!
But if Armando had the foresight to just hire some college students to hand out his flyers instead of bringing his talking ape into the city, we never would have ended up in this situation.
Lousy human bastards!
For a circus ape, he's pretty poorly trained. Naturally, when the police question Armando, they don't buy his story that he said those words, as Montalban's accent is far different than McDowall's.
Lousy human bastards!
Yeah. Could be. I don't think so.
It's right. The ape spoke.
That's right.
Well, considering they're all walking upright and doing complex chores, I'm personally surprised that they're not all talking. Fortunately, a small crisis allows Armando and Caesar to escape, and the movie to be longer than 15 minutes. However, Armando feels that running away like that now makes them look guilty. Which they are, but therefore they can't simply leave now and must devise an elaborate scheme to conceal Caesar's existence.
I'll go to the police.
Oh, no, Armando, where would I go?
Oh, you wait right here. If this works, I'll be back by nightfall.
But what if it doesn't? If they don't let you go?
They will.
So the plan is that Armando goes to the police, and Caesar joins the ranks of the ape slaves. And this is a better idea than just leaving... how? Immediately at the authorities, this scene introduces us to Governor Breck, played by Don Murray. He immediately jumps on the idea of the rumored talking ape being the child of Cornelius and Zira with the grace of a G.I. Joe villain.
From 20 years back.
From the year, Senor Armando, when the two talking apes arrived on Earth and conceived a baby whose survival could have threatened the future of the entire human race.
Mr. Governor, it's my understanding the baby was shot dead with its parents.
So it was believed, Mr. McDonald.
Yeah, Don Murray's performance is a little, fucking bonkers. Nevertheless, Caesar has no problem picking the child's safety lock and smuggling himself in with the orangutans, which allows for our first look inside Ape Central and the training methods they utilize. Such as the mosh pit. But when it comes time to train the new arrivals for basic labor and obedience, Caesar's knowledge of how to show arrogance for the simplest of tasks earns him the open spot for a chimpanzee in the breeding annex. Hey. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. No! No, what am I saying? She's an ape! An incredibly sexy ape. What's wrong with me?
I saw her giving you the fuck me eyes.
Not wasting any time in what has certainly been one hell of a busy day for Caesar, he's evidently performed so well on all fronts, he's immediately put up for auction. I can see Armando's plan is working out fabulously. And of course, in campy villain fashion, Governor Breck snipes the closing bid, buying Caesar for himself. Of course, upon being tested by Head Honcho, Caesar is sure to screw up just enough to protect his identity.
No. Clean. Well, it seems the little fellow's not quite so bright after all.
No, but then brightness has never been encouraged among slaves.
Oh, don't be so touchy, Mr. McDonald.
Thus, MacDonald, played by Harry Rhodes, establishes pretty well that he's the only person on the planet who hasn't forgotten in 18 years that slavery isn't good.
Say, we haven't named him yet, have we?
No, Mr. Brick.
Well, I'm going to have to revive a charming tradition established in her lifetime by my dear wife and let you name yourself.
Oh, they're renaming him? Oh, this is probably where the name Aldo comes from, and the exposition from the last movie will finally make sense.
Caesar.
Or he just finds his own name again in a couple of seconds. Finally, in stupid villain fashion, Breck assigns Caesar to the command post of all things, and we finally get to see Armando come in for his final interrogation.
Then I'm free to go.
Oh, as soon as you sign this sworn declaration.
Please tell me you bother to read it before you sign it.
Certainly.
Excellent.
Big surprise! They pull out the science fantasy technology on him with the Authenticator, a little blue light that has the same campy effect as Truth Serum.
Now, about your statement, sworn statement, that the circus ape is incapable of speech.
No, I won't submit to this.
So they developed this technology that has this beam of light that forces people to tell the truth so long as they stay within the beam of light, and no one along the process of building this machine ever thought it might be a good idea to have some straps on the chair so that people can't escape. Armando can't take the pressure and runs out the window? They killed Ricardo Montalban?
I knew that circus owner was lying.
But they insist he fell to his death accidentally.
Before long, news of the tragedy reaches Caesar, and we get our touching, emotional scene. Yeah. He really should have hired some college students to hand out those flyers. Following this, we get a few scenes that, to me, seem to suggest that Caesar's ability to talk is moot, as evidently he can communicate with the other apes telepathically.
A number of servant apes from widely scattered households throughout the city who had gathered clandestinely in the unused building on the outskirts of the east sector. Property owners are firmly warned that they bear sole responsibility for the behavior and whereabouts of their servant apes.
This sequence of events depicting Caesar bringing all the apes together to stockpile weapons is honestly very confusing, as there isn't much setup to it, and from what we've seen earlier, the apes are all kept on a very short leash, and this kind of organization would be dispersed almost immediately. But the upset hasn't gone unnoticed, as the governor calls to corral and recondition every last ape that's been guilty of an overt act of disobedience.
They constitute the hard core of our problem, and I'm going to crush them once and for all.
You will not crush them, sir. You will only further aggravate the problem. This action is folly, and I wish to protest it in the strongest possible terms.
You know, you don't have to play this like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Your protest has been duly noted.
Besides, it turns out that this exercise is completely pointless, as they soon figure out that they received one chimpanzee too many in their last shipment, and trace it to the one sold to Breck himself.
Good God, just as I first thought! We've had him under our noses all the time!
Hey, Cobra Commander, calm the fuck down!
We've been suckered! Back to base!
Breck immediately calls McDonald to have Caesar turned in. However...
Do not question an order.
No, sir, I'm not questioning the orders. It's just that... Well, I sent him out on an errand. He should be back momentarily.
Because, it was alright when he was standing around and watching cruelty and enslavement for years, but now that it's happening to an important character, that's just going too far. But this mysterious philanthropic attitude of McDonald should save Caesar's ass as long as he remembers to keep his mouth shut.
I understand, Mr. MacDonald.
Right!
How do you propose to gain this freedom?
By the only means left to us. Revolution.
For some reason, learning that Caesar is the ape destined to overthrow the human race, and hearing his intentions to do just that, doesn't seem to bother McDonald at all, as he continues to cover his escape. This does little good to change anything, however, as Caesar is immediately tracked down and captured by a tiny search party under the cover of night. I really don't think Governor Breck has anything to worry about over the existence of intelligent apes. Strapping him in for electric torture, Breck forces Caesar to speak and confirm his suspicions.
Pity.
That's incredible! Absolutely fantastic! Have him say something else.
Like, "Oh God, help me," or "Damn you all to hell," that's a good one. But we almost forgot, it's time to kill the chimpanzee.
Well, then electrocute him.
However, McDonald slipped over to the power room just in the nick of time to save Caesar's monkey ass yet again. Well, yeah, faking it will throw them off for a little bit, especially since for some reason these people aren't smart enough to notice that the needles on the machine aren't moving, but it's gonna be pretty obvious you're still alive when you're still breathing and you have a pulse.
He's dead.
Good.
Words cannot describe the stupidity on display here! And now that that's not taken care of at all, Breck leaves Caesar alone with the one incredibly incompetent guard.
It's over.
Game over.
After this, Caesar makes his way back to his illogically secret ape club and calls to get Act 3 in motion.
Lisa.
Reaching ape management, the prisoners are freed amidst a long and, for Planet of the Apes standards, pretty brutal action sequence.
Double kill. Triple kill. Overkill.
Hey, you know, Breck, maybe you shouldn't have treated the situation with the foresight of a James Bond villain.
That idiot!
A long, quiet series of shots with the apes marching on the city work honestly pretty well to build up tension for the ridiculously action-packed climax.
Fire! Kill-tacular. Killing spree.
My God, there's more!
Kill-trocity. Kilimanjaro. Kill-tastrophe. Kill-pocalypse. Killionaire. Killing frenzy. Running riot. Rampage. Untouchable.
Seriously, this skirmish alone is over 5 minutes long, which, in movie terms, is a fucking eternity. They take down all opposition, and soon enough are breaking into the command post itself.
But how? How? They don't have the intelligence to use such tools!
What do you mean they cut the power? How could they cut the power, man?
Invincible. Inconceivable. Unfriggin' believable.
Breaking in, they blow away abso-fucking-lutely everyone, spared Breck and McDonald.
Friggin'.
Thus, bringing us to the very strange ending. I mean, it starts off pretty damn straightforward. McDonald is terrified at what he sees, while Caesar simply declares it as a means to an end.
What you have seen here today, apes on the 5 continents will be imitating tomorrow.
Mr. Caesar? There are 7 continents. And then Caesar goes on to glorify and relish the idea of the annihilation of the human species.
For the inevitable day of man's downfall, the day when he finally and self-destructively turns his weapons against his own kind.
But then...
And if it is man's destiny to be dominated, it is God's will that he be dominated with compassion.
Huh?
And we shall build our own cities in which there will be no place for humans except to serve our ends.
Okay, it's probably pretty well known, but the originally scripted ending for this movie was just that the apes beat Breck to death with the butts of their rifles, and that's it. But for some reason, the studio decided they wanted a happier ending, and instead of reshooting and rewriting the ending entirely, they just tacked it on the end of the original ending, which makes Caesar come off as fucking schizophrenic.
And we, who are not human, can afford to be humane.
When your cities lie buried under radioactive rubble.
Now we will put away our hatred.
My people will crouch and conspire and plot and plan.
And it is with a loving heart the rivers shall flow with your blood! And with caring, compassionate hands, the roads will be paved with your bones! Maybe they shouldn't have used so many amps on his brain earlier. Well, that was Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and, yeah. I have to admit, for being so low budget, they really did a good job making this film not look overly cheap. Of course, that's because about 90% of the movie's assets are recycled, but that's not nearly the biggest problem on display here. As the only Planet of the Apes sequel to actually be planned, the massive continuity errors between this and Escape are extremely puzzling to say the least, but they did pull off a full cohesive story, even if a lot of the character motivation seems more than a little contrived. That's not to say it's bad. I'm a fan of cheesy, campy, fun action, but compared to the other Planet of the Apes films, this one just has such a different feel to it. It comes off like a movie made to be aired on basic cable rather than a theatrical release. The sets are nice, and the use of focus and shadow to hide most of the lower quality ape masks is done well, even if they neglected proper ape feet on nearly every occasion. But the acting, plot, and overall quality of this film leave this as what's best described as a guilty pleasure for me, netting 3 apes with assault rifles out of 5. It is a nice way to spend an hour and a half if you're a fan of cheesy action flicks, but if you want poetic social commentary with real, believable science fiction infused in it, you're not really going to find it here, at least not nearly to the same quality. Thank you all for watching. I've been Decker Shado, and remember, I got it wrong last time when I said that every single Planet of the Apes movie was made with less money than the last, because the next one, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, actually did have a larger budget by this one, for, about $100,000. Unless you take inflation into account, in which it had actually less spending power than the money used on this film.